Beautiful humans, today we're going to talk about price increases, how to increase them, when to increase them, how to do it well so you get rich, you don't go broke. I'm coming at you from Kuala Lumpur. I'm in a WeWork here. I'm out with my family here for 11 days, then heading to Singapore. For those of you who don't know, we live in Bali, so this is kind of a hop, skip, and a jump across some ocean to get here. Asia's epic, by the way. If you haven't come out here to Asia, highly recommend. It's really good. In the last week, I've had a number of questions around price increases. People that feel like they're undercharging, and they're like, how and when do I raise it? People who have raised it and gone, oh my gosh, did I raise it too soon? Your price is one of the single most important things about everything in your business. You can have the best offer. If you undercharge, the right people will overlook it. If you overcharge, which can often be the case, sales is incredibly hard. And so you can be thinking, I need to get better at marketing. I need to get better at sales. I need to improve and just throw more things into my offer, but you just might not have the right price point. And so today I want to walk you through not the right way or the best way, just my way. And if you don't know, like I've made $8.5 million online. I have a relatively cool business. I really like it. It suits me well. And this is what's worked for me when it comes to pricing. So firstly, my philosophy on prices is that your price should match your confidence. There is nothing that undermines a sale more than when you are on a call, or if you sell like me in the DMs and you say a price and you are like terrified when you say it. You don't even know if the person should buy it. And that might not be you, but this is a very important point, which is that the most important factor in sales is your conviction. So there should be an element that when you're presenting a price in any given format, that you are confident this is an unbelievable deal. And so your offer in someone else's hands might actually be worth more because their confidence is higher. But nevertheless, if you're not confident in how you're selling what you're selling and how you've packaged it in the pricing, nothing else matters, right? People can feel your energy through conviction, confidence. And so that's a very, very important point. So when it comes to your first 15 clients, let's say, I like to think about it like beta pricing. 15 is kind of like a round number. You can pick 12, you can pick 16, whatever. But your first 10 to 15 clients, you should have what I call beta pricing. The frame is this. This is the cheapest it will ever be. So for you, you have massive confidence in what you're selling because you're like, this is a massive bargain. And when people hear it, they should have that same element. If they hear your what you're offering, they hear who you are, right? Hopefully that's experienced through marketing, and then they hear the price, they go, this is an unbelievable deal. The reason you want to almost be undercharging for your first few clients, maybe your first 10, your first 15, is you want to create momentum. There is this crazy idea that people should just pick the kind of highest number that they can possibly have. And I'll never forget in 2020, there was this hot new coaching company. They were doing big numbers. I later learned that they were sharing their total sales numbers, not their cash numbers. So they weren't doing as good as everyone thought. Nevertheless, I bought their program. It was $9,800. And it was like one small thing I wanted to learn, but it was worth $9,800 for me. A few weeks later, I referred someone to them and he joined. The only difference was he paid $2,000 less than me. Why was that? Well, they figured out they were overcharging. And so what happened was they had to adjust their pricing to meet the market. There is nothing worse than having to lower your prices. My confidence in them disappeared. I was so frustrated. I was like, so everyone's paying $2,000 less now? Now, that might not be the specific scenario you find yourself in, but you don't want to be in a position where you have to lower your prices, which is why you should start gradually raising them over time. So firstly, if you are struggling with sales, you need to look at your price and go, am I pricing this at a no-brainer price? Yes, you've got to cover your expenses. Yes, there needs to be profit. Yes, you can't be resentful if someone says yes and it's so low that you're like, I can't believe I'm doing it for this amount of money. But don't just come hot out the gate with premium pricing, trying to be the top of your market. It's crazy. You get to that place through momentum, right? Not just through throwing a number out there and then hoping someone's crazy enough to say yes. So that's the first thing. It needs to match your confidence, right? And in the beginning, your confidence is probably not very high, so you should price accordingly so that you're confident that you're giving such a good deal, a lot of people are going to say yes. The second thing is you should only consider raising prices from a place of momentum, not to create momentum. This is a mistake I see people make. People are like, man, sales are slow at the moment. And then the few sales that they're making is not really enough to kind of give them the lifestyle they want. So they think if they just charge more, then everything is going to work out. Now, in some rare, absolutely rare exceptions, raising your prices can help sales because it will give the right people the ability to notice your service. If you charge it too low, if you do Walmart prices and people are in a Louis Vuitton market, that's not going to work. But for most of us, we have to price according to our momentum. And so that means you shouldn't be raising your prices if sales are already hard. So firstly, you've got to fix your marketing and your offer issues before you raise your prices. And then assuming that you're in a place that you feel like there is some momentum, and momentum just means that sales are coming naturally. There is some momentum in sales. You're not struggling to get people over the line. You're not dealing with 100 objections. If that's the case, I love increasing them incrementally. I have never had a substantial, like, I'm going to double my prices. And the reason is not just because I don't want to create a ton of friction, right? Because obviously that happens with price increases. A lot of people, or some people, just can't meet that new price. But the reason is price increases create urgency and scarcity. So some of my most successful, what we call kind of promo cycles or cash campaigns in our world have been just before we increase the price. So every time we increase the price, me and my clients, we all publicize it. So the framing is, this is the cheapest it's ever going to be, right? Just like the beta pricing. This is the cheapest it's ever going to be. And then we annualize the price increase. So it doesn't matter whether you're doing month to month. It doesn't matter whether it's a 3-month commitment. You take whatever that price increase is and you annualize it. So if you're going to from $400 a month to $500 a month, it's increasing by $1,200 a month. So if you want to save $1,200 a year, now is the best time to work with me, because from this date, and you have a very specific date, or you can do spots. You can say, after these 5 spots are taken, I am going to increase it by $1,200 a year. When you do that, you increase urgency and scarcity. You do not have unlimited price increases up your sleeve. Very important to keep in mind. It's one of the most real strategies that you can use to create urgency and scarcity, but you cannot do this unlimited times. So I like increasing 10 to 20% at a time. Now, that number obviously means different things for different price points. You might be charging $100 a month and you want to charge $150. That's totally cool. You don't need to go to 110. But the point is that number one, it shouldn't outpace your confidence. You shouldn't just throw a number out there and kind of hope for the best. But number two, you only have a few of these up your sleeve over your career with your offer. And so you do not want to just willy-nilly like increase it by 100%, not knowing if it's going to work. Incrementally increase it. You can always increase it the next month and the next month. Like, there's no rules around how many times you can do this, other than you can't go backwards. Or if you do, you lose credibility in the market. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind, is that prices should match your confidence. If you're not very confident, make sure that you price accordingly. If you're in a state of low momentum, do not raise your prices to create momentum. That's typically not how it works. You should feel confident. You should feel like sales are relatively easy. And then you're increasing to, number one, add profit to your offer. And number two, increase friction so it doesn't appeal to everyone anymore. You're now upgrading the level of clientele that you can work with. The last thing I'll say on this is I have a philosophy around pricing, which is I'm looking for fair pricing. Right now, my inner circle is $20,000 a year, I believe, somewhere around that, right? And back in 2021, I was charging $30,000 a year. Now, there was a whole lot more bells and whistles because I'd read the purple, offer gospel, and I threw all these things in there, which I later regretted. But I know that I could raise my prices now back to $30,000 a year, right? And I would still get sales. But what I'm optimizing for is sales flow. I want sales to feel easy and effortless. I'm incredibly profitable. I run 90% margins at a $20,000 a year offer. So if I ran 90% margins at a $30,000 a year offer, I would make more money, but it would make sales a little bit harder because more people wouldn't be able to get in. And even though I would still make sales, I would probably have to push harder for their sales. So when you run a lean, simple business and you have good profit margins, sometimes you will keep your prices below what you think you can charge so that sales stay easy. I've had people pay me $10,000 a month. I know there's a market for higher price, but I'm looking for fair pricing where people look at it and they go, yeah, that's great for me. And I look at it and I go, man, I'm making amazing money on this. Yeah, I could be making more, but sales feels easy. And so I'm looking for the sweet spot between it's highly profitable, it feels fair for me, it feels fair for the client, and it allows sales to flow in easy. If I increased it, I would still make sales, but there'd be more friction because more people I'm talking to couldn't afford it and only a few couldn't. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. I don't think it's talked about very often. Most of us think we should just be charging the absolute highest amount we possibly can. And then what happens is we have to work harder for that money, right? Even though on paper it looks really good, we now have to push harder, we're going to market harder, we're going to follow up more. And so I think there is a sweet spot, a Goldilocks zone when it comes to price increases that I think is really talked about. And so it's important to consider. I haven't done a price increase on my inner circle in about 5 or 6 months. I don't have any planned right now. What will happen is I'm going to move closer to my cap of 100 people in the inner circle, and then I will increase it once we hit that cap, because then I don't need to have super easy sales because I'm mostly retaining people. But while I'm in this building phase of that inner circle, that $20,000 a year, getting to 100 members, I want sales to feel easy, and so therefore I price accordingly. So this isn't the best and only way to think about prices. This is my way, and I think it's an uncommon way. I think most people, they don't have any strategy behind price increases, and most people charge way too much for way too little. And I think there's something to be said about being very strategic around how you price, starting out cheaper than you maybe think you should, but at a place where you feel incredibly confident that when you present it, people go, this is a no-brainer, incrementally increasing over time to the tune of maybe 10 to 20%, again, depending on the number, and then publicizing those price increases so that there's real urgency and scarcity, both publicly, where you let people know, email list, Facebook, Instagram, stories, also privately, where you're reaching out to people, hey, I know you're on the fence, just letting you know, you'll save $1,200 a year if you join now, etc., etc. And I think it's really important to figure out your philosophy on this. There are a lot of wrong ways to do pricing. When I look at people's businesses, yes, I see people undercharging, and so of course I tell them to charge more, but oftentimes I see people charging amounts that just don't make any sense. The value just isn't there, and that's why sales is really hard. And ironically, sometimes people could strip things out of their offer that are high cost, like all these coaches and things like that, and then lower their prices, and they'd actually make way more profit, which is really the ultimate number that we should be focusing on. But that's kind of a topic for another video. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I just want to walk you through how I think about it, as a number of questions that come up in the last week. And so I've been thinking about it a lot. So sending you love from Kuala Lumpur. We'll talk soon.